All right. Well, welcome to the pod. 2 cents, Josh and Spence. We are your hosts, Josh.
Spence.
Welcome, everybody. We have a massive show today. I'm super duper excited. We've got a special guest. Dani Rancourt is her name. She's the CEO and lead dietitian at Pivot Nutrition Coaching. And she also has a very cool podcast called But First Pivot. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today, Dani. So welcome on.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, to get started, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and how you got started.
Yeah, for sure. So right now I live in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I've been here since 2015. I'm from Sudbury, Ontario. That's in Northern Ontario in Canada. I'm married to a local firefighter. We have 2 doodles, no kids yet. One of my dogs is actually a therapy dog, so I do that with him a few times a month. I became a registered dietitian in 2015 and a sports dietitian in 2018. My first job, I worked at a gym as a performance dietitian, working with athletes, but also with adults seeking to improve their performance, weight loss, weight gain, things like that. And then in 2021, I started my business, Pivot Nutrition Coaching.
That's so cool. Yeah, like just kind of getting, learning a little bit more about you from your, listening to your podcast and checking out your social media. Like you just strike me as a type of person and I talk about this all the time, like the type of people we want to surround ourselves with, like super positive, energetic, growth-minded, solution-oriented, and you seem like you got an awful lot going on. You seem like you're doing
Thank
a
you.
lot of
Yeah,
really
I
good
love
stuff.
people. I've always loved working with people, helping people. Even as a college athlete, I was almost more recognized or known as a humanitarian versus a hockey player.
Sure. You get, yeah, they call that a good, she's good in the locker room. Good in the locker room.
Yep, I was the team mom.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, for the people who don't know, can you kind of explain to us how your business works and how your coaching business works?
So my coaching business is, I would say, 99.9% all online. What obviously sparked me to start my business was the beloved pandemic. And that's actually it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. Obviously, COVID was not a good time. 2020 was pretty scary. But it really made me start to think like, what if? What if I lose my job? Because I worked in a gym and gyms were shutting down left and right. And I had to come up with a backup plan, and that's when I was following this guy who's a registered dietitian. He's an entrepreneur. And he was basically selling these courses on how to kickstart a business. And I knew I couldn't start one right away, but it was very intriguing to me. And I was like, you know what? I love people. I want to have a bigger impact. I feel like I'm not able to make that impact where I am or do it the way that I want, because when you work under a health system, there are certain rules and regulations you have to follow. So basically, I went off on my own when I was able to. And the number one thing that we do is one-on-one customized nutrition coaching. So we work with men, women, and athletes, but our number one population is definitely women because, well, they're willing to ask for help more than anybody else. But we do have some men, some young men, some dads, some grandpas. But I would say our biggest population is 30 to 55-year-old women who just don't feel good and they feel stuck and they're sick of yo-yo dieting, on and off the wagon. They don't have a good relationship with food. They've tried all the things and they just don't feel good. So I have a team of registered dietitians. Some of them are in the Midwest, but I have one in New York City, North Carolina, Colorado, and everyone has different strengths. So my job, when people reach out like, hey, I need help, this is what I'm struggling with, this is how I feel, my job is to really figure out what's going on, what's the problem, and then also, do I have the solution? And if I'm like, hey, I know that we can help you, and this dietitian on my team, she's the best person to help you based on her education, her knowledge, and her experience. So I kind of pair people together. I'm like a matchmaker, but for nutrition. I'm not as good as matchmaking in real life. But when it comes to nutrition, I have a pretty good success rate with pairing people up with the right person. And then they work together for 3, 6, 9, 12, or more months. It really depends on how much time the person needs. But since most people are women reaching out that are struggling with, how they feel and whatnot, we do a lot of sustainable weight loss. So we offer either weekly or bi-weekly coaching calls with our clients. So we're on Zoom every week or every other week, and we educate them, we set realistic goals, we discuss barriers and challenges, because nutrition is the easiest thing to say and it's the hardest thing to do. So we become a part of their, I don't want to say their families, but we become a really integral part of their lives. Like, it's not just like a cookie cutter, like, here's your meal plan. We don't even make meal plans because it's so customized to the person's dieting history, medical history, their schedule. Do they have 5 kids or do they have no kids? So everything is customized to the person. And that's probably like our biggest offering, is that one-on-one customized coaching, because people want something that's individualized to them.
That's like, I have so many things to say about that because everything you just said was awesome. But like the initial takeaway, like her business started with COVID and like out of fear, or not out of fear, but in a very uncertain time.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, we could just stick around and wait and maybe everything will be okay, maybe not. Or we can be solution oriented and find something and take action, bet on yourself. You can have fear or faith, and you choose, and you chose faith. So you started this business, and now, a year and a half, 2 years later, you're out like living your best life, serving a lot of people. And I think that is just absolutely awesome. And that's another thing that stood out to me, like getting to learn more about you and what you do. You seem to have this very like very true and authentic way about you, and like a no nonsense approach to health and nutrition, right? Because
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, or a lot of BS. And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to tell that person I don't have the answer, or I don't have a solution, but I know someone who does, and I'm going to refer you. Like, if I can't help someone, I'm not going to sell them on anything because I don't have the solution, and that's not fair. Sometimes we have people reach out and they're like, hey, like, I'm struggling with, like next level infertility or cancer. I'm like, okay, like, one of my friends is a dietitian and she's a fertility specialist. And since this is kind of, like next level, I'm going to refer you because your chances of getting pregnant are much higher with this specialist versus us, who we do have some fertility, but it's more like basic versus like next level. So, yeah, I'm all for, simplifying nutrition. I think that I just did my last Instagram post was Avril Lavigne. Why do you gotta
Yeah.
go make things so complicated?
Yes.
I just laugh every time I think about the post because I was a total like skater girl, like Avril fan.
Yeah.
Like, I had a skateboard. My brother, like, I just had one brother, and it was all like the boys in the neighborhood, and I was like a total tomboy, like dressed like a boy, and like I thought I was like a skater boy. So when
Yeah.
my caption was like, why do you have to complicate things? I was like, oh my gosh, Avril Lavigne needs to be on this post, because that's a thing. Like, so many people overcomplicate nutrition and health and weight loss, and the solutions are so simple. And sometimes people are like looking for these super fancy, expensive answers. And I'm like, are you eating 5 servings of veggies per day? Because if not, this is where we need to start. And they're like, no, like, no, that's not it. And I'm like, yes, it is. Like, it's that simple, but only 10% of Americans are doing it. And if we all did it, like, heart disease and obesity would probably be significantly lower. The answers are simple, but people overcomplicate it. So our job is really to take a step back and be like, okay, where do we need to start? Let's just focus on one thing. Whether if it's someone is sedentary, like, can you walk for 10 minutes a day? Like, let's just start with that. They're like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. We don't need to change everything overnight, but I need you to do this consistently. And that's the key. It's all about consistency when it comes to progress and achieving goals.
I love that. And you're absolutely right. I mean, people overcomplicate anything because they start on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, you Google it and then you find 100 different answers to what you're looking for, and it's like, oh, where do I start? So I just love the idea of finding a coach in, whether it's, helping your diet or whatever it is in life that you want to do. Like, find someone who knows better than you and meet with them and ask them questions. So I love what you're doing, but one of the things that we were curious about is we talk a lot about mindset on here. So when you're meeting with a new client, what do you see in their mindset? Like, are they just overwhelmed, like you said, or how are they feeling when you first meet them?
Yeah, mindset is probably, even though it's not like listed anywhere, um, actually, it's probably in our about section on our website. Um, the first thing we do is talk about mindset with our clients. When they apply for coaching, they have to fill out an application. And one of the first questions is, how would you rate your mindset slash relationship with food on a scale of 1 to 10? And I would say at least 75% of people that apply, it's less than a 5. And the most common mindset that we see, because most people are reaching out for sustainable fat loss, the most common mindset we see is the all or nothing mindset. And it's challenging, but it's also exciting because when we fix that, when we turn that 3 into a 9, it's a total game changer for the rest of that person's life. I truly believe from experience coaching hundreds and hundreds of people that if you don't improve your mindset, you will never be able to have genuine happiness, like truly like happiness within yourself, and have sustainable results. The reason that people keep falling on and off the wagon is because they have an all or nothing mindset, right? They go all out. Favorite example, January 2nd, right? Diet starts January 2nd. Everyone is motivated. They've been waiting for 2 months, like November, December, they're waiting for January. And because it's like this buildup, then they're so ready, they're motivated. Everyone else in the world is dieting. They go all out. They're like, I'm going to work out every day and I'm going to cut out carbs. And it's so intense. And intensity cannot be, it's intensity is very short lived. And so we burn out very quickly, which is why most New Year's resolutions fail by February 1st. The average diet lasts 21 days because people restrict so much and they go so all in that they cannot sustain it. And then they fall off, not for a day or two, for months until they get the motivation again. They don't feel good. They're like, okay, gotta get back on the keto, gotta cut carbs again, gotta get back into the gym. I have to run every day. And what we really teach our clients is balance. Balance is how we fix this mindset. You can have Doritos and still lose weight. You can have sugar and still be healthy. Nutrition is a balancing act. So in the first few months of working with our clients, it's more mindset work than anything, especially for the people who are perfectionists or who are used to yo-yo dieting. It's really teaching them like, I don't want you to be perfect. I want you to be consistent. And sometimes people think those are the same thing, but consistency is not the same thing as intensity or perfection. So it's really getting people out of that mindset that they need to be perfect or intense to be successful. And they just simply need to be more consistent. And it's hard to be consistent if you're next level intense. Like you can't sprint a marathon. If you line up at a marathon and you start sprinting, you're not going to cross the finish line. It's the same thing with health and dieting. You cannot sprint. You have to pace yourself and take it 1 mile at a time. And that's how we explain nutrition journeys to our clients. Like we're going to get there, but we have to pace our.
Yeah, I love that approach, and it's it feels like changing that mindset. Like this, no, this is a lifestyle now. This isn't there's no this isn't about getting ready for beach season per se. Like this is our new lifestyle, and this is our and when I've heard you say that in quite a few of your podcasts, like we're going to change our change our relationship that we have with food, and everybody has their own. But one thing that I've heard you say several times is, yeah, consistency is greater than intensity, right? Because yeah, anybody can go to the gym for 4 hours one day, and that's not going to get you what you want.
The all or nothing, like that's me.
That's me. Oh, that's me too. Yeah, you are literally preaching to the choir right now.
I am that person.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's also my husband. He's more of an all or nothing kind of person. And it's hard to change unless you're willing to change, right? If someone is not willing to change their habits or their mindset, like I will tell them like, I don't think you're ready to make these changes. And you nailed it in the head when you said it's a lifestyle. Like sometimes people, I remember one of She started as a client. She's now a good friend of mine. And it's so fun to tell this kind of mini story. I had her start strength training because most people want to be lean and toned and athletic looking. And I'm like, all right, we need to strength train. That is the key to being toned because the body you want has more muscle than you think. I was like, all right, we need to start strength training. I made her a strength plan because I used to do that at my old job, train adults. And she goes, how long do I have to do this for? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, how long is the workout going to take? Like 30 minutes? She's like, no, how long? And I was like, well, forever. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not like we're doing this for 6 months and then
Yeah.
you're never, it's not, we're doing it for 6 months for like a photo shoot or for the summer. This is forever. Like people should be strength training until they die, basically.
Yeah. This is
And
your
so
life, baby.
we call them forever habits, like instead of sustainable habits. Sometimes people don't know what that means because they hear it. It's a kind of trendy word like sustainability. So I call them forever habits. Like
Yes.
I want you to strength train forever. We have so many 60-year-olds in our program that are strength training because it's so crucial. But the point is that it's about changing your habits forever. It's not temporary. And that's why fad diets have a 5% success rate because there is no foundation. There is no mindset. It's just like, here are the rules: cut carbs for 30 days, you'll lose 20 pounds. Well, you can't sustain that because you don't have a good relationship with food. You don't actually know how to eat. And there's no forever. Like, you're not going to cut carbs forever.
Mhm.
Like, it's temporary. So everything we do, we always keep in mind, can this person do this long term for years and years, not just for 6 weeks?
Mm. No, that's very cool. So that reminds me of a story. So I read a lot, and I'm very curious to and we'll get into this. But anyway, but the story you said, like it basically comes from one of my favorite books. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and it speaks to that. And he gives a story about like somebody comes like, Darren, I want to get in shape. I want to have a 6-pack by by the summer. And he's like, is that really what you want? Like, is that And well, it turns out she just wants to be healthy because she, for her kids, wants to be around a long time. So she's like, I'm going to start going to the gym, going to go to the gym 2 hours a day. And he's like, no, I don't want you to do that. I was like, I want you to walk 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week. And then because what's going to happen? You're going to go for 4 days and then you're not going to be able to make it one day. And then be like, well, I'll start back again Monday and yada, yada, yada. And pretty soon you're just back to it. But yeah, just building those daily disciplines is super important and just super, yeah. But yeah, I feel like, sounds like myself, Spencer, your husband, I don't know. There's something about like that like David Goggins or like Jocko Willink or just that super intense, tough guy that just, I don't know.
But I can put myself in your client's shoes too, and like it would also be very cool to hear someone like you like give that permission to like, you don't have to go work out for 2 hours a day. You don't have to cut out all the carbs. Like, I'm sure that's helping your clients a ton, where it's like, okay, I've got my coach here who's telling me like I can build a lifestyle here. I don't have to
Yeah,
go all
sometimes
in.
their goal is to take a day off. Like you would think that the goals are like, I need you to go to the gym, I need you to do this. Like Sunday, I need you to do nothing. Like you can go for a walk, like walk your dog, go walk with a friend, but you're not going to the gym on Sunday. Like
That's awesome.
sometimes people need boundaries. And I feel like now that we're in 2023, people have less and less boundaries around self-care. We live in this burnout society where it's just grind, grind, grind. Everybody has 3 jobs, but everyone's burnt out, and we accept burnout as normal because everyone's doing it, but it's not normal to be burnt out. And that's when our health starts to decline, when we like push through and grind through this burnout until one day we have a medical condition which is caused by like 10 years or 15 years of chronic stress. So, really, like my job is prevention as much as possible. But unfortunately, a lot of people are coming in with like depleted cortisol levels because they had the most stressful job for 16 years. And then we have to fix the past, which is fun to do when we do it. But it breaks my heart that people think that they have to like work, 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 grind, 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 and just like, no, like it doesn't have to be this way. But yeah, giving people permission when people have a poor relationship with food, usually call number one. Like that's the first thing we talk about. And I make them repeat after me. I actually did this with a youth athlete. I have a high school figure skater, and she has a very poor relationship with food. And I had her repeat after me. I said, I give myself full permission to include all foods. And oftentimes people cry when they say that out loud because it's so emotional and they've been so restricted by their own mindset or food rules that people cry all the time when we break through these mental barriers. But it's the only way to really move forward.
Wow. That's very cool.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but I oh man, I don't know where I want to go with that. It's like, and it's like anything too, because I was thinking we just took a class on like personal finance yesterday, and in there too, it seems like a lot like pretty similar, like fairly similar stuff in that it's probably 20% head knowledge and then just 80% behavior, right? And that behavior then comes back to your mindset and giving yourself that permission, and where that
Yeah, and
comes
with
from.
those
Then
behaviors, I think they're so habitual that when we stop and ask your clients, why do you do this? They're like, I've never thought about that. And it's something they've been doing for 20 years. Like they're like, every day I come home and I have tortilla chips. Why do you do that? Are you physically hungry? Like what emotions do you feel? And they're just like, oh, like actually, like I feel like really hungry. I feel really stressed out. Like, okay, why are you really hungry? Oh, because you don't eat breakfast. So it's just like really creating awareness. That's kind of like step one of our program. Like, let's create awareness around your current habits because awareness precedes change. And it's so wild when people start to realize like their own, like, I guess, issues or behaviors. Are like, wow, I didn't realize I did this, or why I drink alcohol, until you challenge me to think about why I drink alcohol. Because again, most of what we do is habitual, but unless we stop and take a step back, like zoom out and be like, why am I doing this? And then we can actually move forward when we realize what's happening.
So what does it look like when so you're helping a client and like it's working, like they're seeing the success. Like is it then it's like, okay, you're done with our coaching calls, or what does it look like then? Like how do you continue to motivate them, and like are you holding them accountable to stuff, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so this will probably be best answered with like our approach. So we have a four-phase approach to our program. Step one is, and it's not like a specific cookie cutter timeline, but the first thing we do with our clients is create awareness around their current habits. So we'll have them journal their typical food intake. This is really hard for them because they're so excited to feel better, lose weight, like build muscle. Like they're so excited about their outcome goal that they came here for. But we're like, don't change your habits for 7 more days. Don't change anything. Like I had a call yesterday with a young woman who's getting married in the fall. She wants to lose 30 pounds. I'm like, great. I'm confident we can help you. I said, what are your weekend plans? She's like, well, I'm doing the pub crawl on Saturday. I'm like, good. Don't change that. Like, do not change your pub crawl plans. I want to see all the green beer on your journals, because we can't make an accurate assessment of someone's intake if they're not being honest.
Okay.
So step one, we create awareness. So they create awareness around their habits by putting them in the journals. We make an assessment. Phase two is called foundation. This is where we work on people's mindset. This is where we build the foundation of healthy habits in a brick by brick approach. Okay, this person's not moving at all. We're going to start with walking. This person's not strength training. Let's start with one strength training workout, and it's only going to be 15 minutes, and it's only going to be body weight. Okay, this person eats all the carbs and zero protein. We're going to fix that ratio a little bit and add protein to each meal and snack. So the foundational phase is the most important because, as you know, anything that does not have a solid foundation falls apart. Relationships, skyscrapers, houses, we need to have a good foundation. And this is why our clients typically have sustainable results, is because we spend so much time and effort building a really good foundation, right? There's those house companies that build houses overnight and they have terrible foundations. Those are a house that floods, there's rodent problems, there's foundation problems. And then there's the companies that take their time and do it right. And those are the houses that stand for 100 plus years. So we build the foundation. Once people are consistent with these foundational habits, strength training, good nutrition, mindset, walking, sleeping, stress management, they start to see results. So our phase 3 is literally called results. You're being consistent, you have a good mindset, you have good habits. Our job during this results phase is to keep people accountable, to keep moving forward, because sometimes when you don't have accountability, you start slacking off. You
Yep.
take the weekend off, the week off. Oh, well, it's summer, it's lake season, it's hockey season. It doesn't matter. Things will always come up. There will always be a wedding. There will always be lake season. There will always be hockey season. These are excuses. So we teach our clients how to be consistent when life happens. And then this answers your original question, like what happens at the end? Our 4th phase is called maintenance. So our clients are ready to graduate from our program when we're both confident that they can maintain their results, which is either like scale related results, like their inches lost, pounds, measurements, photos, but also non-scale victories. One of the biggest things we track is biofeedback, sleep, energy, performance, mood, sex drive, things like that. Because if people don't feel good, what's the point of like losing weight, right? Like what's the point of losing 30 pounds if you feel terrible? And so that maintenance phase is where we make sure that people are ready to go off on their own. We do have a continuity program that people can kind of linger in just to make sure. It's kind of like the insurance policy. Like, okay, you don't need to meet every single week with your dietitian. You don't need that much accountability. Now we're going to meet once a month until you feel 100% ready to go off on your own.
Danny, you got me ready to run through a wall right now.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. I love what you do, and I love why you do it. And I think another thing that stood out, and I've heard you say it a few times, like like tracking and measuring, because anything that gets tracked and measured can get improved, right? But it's like, how's your diet? It's like, oh, it's pretty good. Well, what does that mean? Like how many calories are you putting in your face? How many fruits and vegetables are you eating or not eating, or what exactly does that look like? And then being able to improve that versus like, well, I think it's pretty good. I don't know,
Right.
So,
Yeah. We track, biofeedback is one of the biggest things we track, like I mentioned. Not all of our clients track calories. Some of them, the numbers do not create a healthy relationship with food. So the cool thing about our app is we can either do macro tracking, which is, like protein and carbs and grams and calories. That's like one version. But for people with youth athletes, we do not do calories. It's unnecessary. People with past disordered eating, or just people that are like, I don't want to look at food as a number. So our journals have either the macro option or just photos. So they just upload a photo of their breakfast, upload a photo of their lunch, and then the dietitian coach will put direct feedback underneath that breakfast. So let's say Susan comes in and she's eating just a piece of toast for breakfast. We'll be like, Susan, we need some protein at this breakfast. Your goal for the next week, we need to have at least 20 grams of protein at breakfast. We're going to be looking for that protein. So the next day, Susan, she has her toast, but now she has a Greek yogurt on the side. We're going to be like, yes, Susan, way to add 20 grams of protein.
Get
Then
it,
the next day,
Susan?
I
That's
see a toast
awesome.
again. If the next day there's just a toast, be like, Susan, where's the protein? And she'll be like, oh, my daughter ate my last yogurt, but I'm getting more this weekend. So it's cool that we can educate in a variety of ways that's more individualized to that person's needs.
That's very cool. Well, it sounds like you do a lot for other people. What kind of things do you do for yourself? Like what motivates you, and how do you pour into yourself rather than just always pouring into other people?
Yeah, that's a hard question. When you guys sent me that ahead of time, I was like thinking of like what my husband would say to like me answering that question. He's like, you don't do a lot for yourself. Honestly, like my biggest fulfillment is helping people. And before I started my business, I had like 3 side jobs just because they were helping people. Like I was meal prepping for people. I was watching people's dogs, people's kids, because like helping people has always filled my cup. But one of the things that I did last year, and I think this is perfect for this podcast, is that when I started my business, it was a total grind. I had a wait list overnight. It grew to 83 people. So I was working 14-hour days. I was working like 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. I was working weekends. Like I swear I worked for like 7 months straight. And I started to feel terrible. Like I couldn't get out of bed, which is weird. I'm a morning person. My husband's like, "Are you okay? Like what's going on? Like you're a morning person. Like why aren't you getting out of bed? Like are you sick? Are you ill?" I could barely get through a workout. I would go in and just go through the motions, lift a few kettlebells, walk out. Like I just couldn't function. And so I decided that I needed the accountability to put myself first, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so in February of last year, I hired my own personal trainer, even though I write programs for my clients, and I hired my own dietitian. And that's exactly, I do both of those things, but I invested thousands of dollars into someone keeping me accountable. And I think the best investment is in yourself. So that's one way that I would say that I fill my cup. I still have that trainer today. So working out is definitely one of those things. I love like the gym environment. I don't think even if I had the money to build this amazing home gym, I don't think I would. I love people. I need to be around them. I don't want to work out by myself. And then dogs, of course. I would say dogs is definitely at the top. My doodles are my babies. They're super lazy. They are like the worst, like wild. They're terrible wild animals. They're so humanized. And then just like I'm a foodie, so I would say like cooking with friends. Like I love to host, like hosting brunch. I can't wait to have a bigger house. My house is way too small to like host gatherings. There's like 2 seats at my house, like just bar stool, tiny house in the north end. So like bigger house, it's gonna be built around a kitchen. Like if most of the house is a kitchen, I'm content.
That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
Danny, you just told 2 realtors that you need a bigger house, so we're gonna have to pivot this conversation.
But I love how you mentioned you hired your own coach. Like that's I can totally relate to that because I'm all about like surrounding yourself with people who will like motivate you and make you better and hold you accountable. Like that I totally relate to that. That's why I'm on the team I'm on.
100%.
Yeah, a lot of, and I've shared that with a lot of my clients. Like, we have dietitians in our program that are like, "Is this weird? Like, I'm a dietitian. I should know these things." I'm like, "No." I said, "I hired my own dietitian to do my macros, and that's exactly what I do." And she's like, "Okay, I feel better now." So I think people appreciate just like me sharing my personal story and like my struggles and like my lack of boundaries in 2021 and how now it's just like it's a work in progress. It always is. But it's just like you have to invest in yourself if you want to be the best version of yourself. Like I just hired a new business coach last week. And when I started my business, like, I hired a business coach as well. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to wing it. And so, for a hot minute, I had $13 in my bank account, but it was fine. It was fine. Don't tell my mom.
No, but I don't know. That's so good. Or if you think, because I was thinking again, we're at that class yesterday talking about personal finance, something that kind of in my brain, I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Same thing with health. Like, yeah, I go to the gym and yeah, I try not to, whatever. But like, how much better, how much more focused, where would I be financially had I had a like a finance coach or a health coach? Like,
well, you're always hearing the most successful people have multiple coaches. So
Yep.
it sounds like Dani does too. Even
Yep.
yeah. Literally, she's a coach and still needs a coach. Like
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
have like
awesome.
3 coaches at all times. And the funny thing is that so many people, when they apply and I'm like, "Hey, this is the investment." And I was like, they're like, "Yo, you know what? I know what to do." But accountability connects the knowing to the doing.
Yes.
I 100% knew what to do, but I needed someone to check in with me every 1 to 2 weeks to be like, "Are you getting enough protein? Are you stopping your work at 9 p.m.? Because I need you to shut her down at 9. Otherwise, things are going to fall apart."
Yep.
So I think that's the most powerful thing to preach, is that accountability connects the knowing to the doing, and it is worth the investment, because I feel like so many people are like, "No, I know what to do. I just need to do it." Well, how long have you been saying that? 5 years? Okay. Enough is enough.
Mhm.
Like just 3 months of working with someone, and I'm not saying me, like whoever is the right fit for you, whatever you need. Maybe it's a personal trainer, maybe it's a life coach. Like maybe it's a business coach. It's just so worth the investment, because I think thinking about it is the hardest thing. Like, if you're unsure what to do, that's the worst feeling. And it's just like, we will tell you what to do. Now you just have to put in the work.
Exactly. Stay off the internet.
No.
Find a coach who knows more than you.
Yeah, like Google is meant, I feel like Google's like meant for like recipes or like
Yep. Oh.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this would just bring a person just comfort, like, oh,
Yeah.
like somebody's looking out for me,
Well,
is how I feel.
Well, too, just that sense of relief, knowing that, like, okay, I have somebody that can hold my hand, and I have the roadmap, and it's not, I now don't have to figure out what to do. I need to do what Dani encourages me to do based on my goals, and allow Dani to hold me accountable to do them.
And sometimes I have to tell people what they don't want to hear, and I think that's one of the hardest parts of my job is when people just have very little confidence in themselves. They feel like losing weight will give them confidence, and I agree. Like, feeling good in your clothes is huge for confidence, but oftentimes these people have been chronic yo-yo dieting for so long that they're not in a good place to focus on fat loss, because they have poor sleep, they have no energy, they have depleted cortisol, their sex hormones are all over the place, and I'm like, Lisa, like, we can't focus on fat loss right now. What we need to do is we need to increase your calories, to be honest. Like, I had someone, she's like, I've been eating 1,200 calories for 2 years and I'm not losing weight. And I was like, girlfriend, that's because you have metabolic adaptation. I'm like, we can't create a deficit from 1,200. You're at a plateau because your body is in survival mode. Your body has no idea there's a fridge and a pantry next to you. Your body knows that you've been undernourished for 2 years. And the solution to that is to actually eat more. That doesn't mean you're going to gain 30 pounds, but we need to slowly increase your intake to bring your body back to life. Like, if we were to do some hormone testing and things like that, like, things would be out of whack because a calorie deficit is a stressor to the body. So I get so many women, especially, that reach out. They want to lose weight, and I understand they're uncomfortable. They just want to feel better. But the solution is not to keep strict dieting. And sometimes they're like, no, I'm not going to invest in eating more. I need to lose weight. I have excess fat. And I'm like, I know, I understand, but this is the solution. And sometimes they walk away, sometimes they trust me, but the best thing is when they walk away and 6 months later they come back. They're like, I don't know if you remember me. I was like, Lisa, I was like, of course I remember you. I was like, are you ready to eat more? She's like, yep. I kept trying. Nothing happened. I'm here for it. Like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Oh man, Dani, that's
awesome.
That's so cool. I don't know. This has been awesome.
Yeah, I love the way you operate, and I so appreciate you joining us today. How can people learn more about you or about your business and your podcast?
Yeah, so my Instagram at Dani the RD. RD stands for registered dietitian. I feel like people read it like Dani the Road, and I'm like, no, it's registered dietitian. And then my website, pivotnutritioncoaching.com. You can message me directly from the website. It'll go straight to my inbox, my email inbox.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was absolutely awesome. I'm grateful to be able to get in your orbit a little bit. And you are an awesome person. Sounds like, I mean, we talk about spreading joy and empowering people. I mean, that's kind of like why we do what we do. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. So that's super cool. Keep doing it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. If you have any suggestions for us, make sure to leave them in the comments. Until next time, watch for deer, shake your bug.